Well, a city councilor in Oregon has revealed that their transgender child has fled the country because of Trump and his anti-trans policies. What does the trans agenda look like here in Oregon? We're going to break it down right now. All right, guys, welcome to the show. One of the things that is so crazy about this next story is not just that this lady, this city councilor in Seaside, Oregon, which is on the coast, obviously Seaside. Her name is Heidi Hoffman, and she has revealed that her child has fled the United States because they are in fear as a transgender individual. This is so crazy because if you think about it, Oregon is actually the safest place you could probably be in. And I'd also be curious to know what country that person fled to, and to see what that kind of what protections for LGBTQ people is over there or wherever they went. But this is crazy because Oregon has actually doubled down on its protections for transgender and LGBTQ people. And I'm surprised that Trump hasn't pulled the funding yet, because Oregon is saying, no, we're not changing anything. They're still doing transgender surgeries. They're still doing transgender education for minors. It's insane. And so when you see something like this, and by the way, I wrote here because I want people to understand when they see a story like this, I want people to understand that this is evil disguised as compassion. And that's kind of how the devil works too. I want you to understand in the end times, the deception would run rampant, and you would see people, calling good bad and bad good. Well, this is a perfect example of that. And by the way, like and subscribe to the channel and follow me at Dave Medina PDX across all social media. If you haven't yet, thank you so much for always supporting what we're doing here. We're just trying to stand on truth, baby. We're not trying to be the next Charlie Kirk. We're not trying to be nothing. We're just trying to stand on truth, man, because there's not enough of it. And you guys should start a podcast too, by the way. But anyways, so Seaside, Oregon City Councilor Heidi Hoffman reveals her transgender child has fled the country out of fear of Trump and his anti-trans policies. And I said, don't let this fool you. Like I just said, this is evil disguised as compassion. If you're allowing your child to make life-altering decisions to their mind and body, I believe you're a bad parent, plain and simple. And I'm not calling for people to bully Hoffman or the Hoffmans. I'm not calling for people, don't do anything stupid, okay? Because then we lose our message. But because my message to this is you're a bad parent, plain and simple. If you're letting your child make life-altering decisions to their bodies via hormone blockers, whatever, you're a bad parent. I just believe that that's a decision that should be made as an adult. I mean, we don't let our kids smoke, drink until they're 21, or smoke and vote until they're 18, but you can make life-changing decisions because they feel a certain, I just don't understand that. Parents are supposed to protect their children. And then I said, sorry, City Councilor Hoffman, we don't tolerate bullying or treating anyone beneath ourselves, but we also will not be guilt-tripped into believing this is healthy or normal. And this is what she had to say. Check this out.
Of those are minors. Oregon also has the highest percentage of LGBTQ. I'm also the mother of a transgender child. Why are we not recognizing Transgender Awareness Month? Why are we turning our backs on a minority group that is victimized at a rate more than 4 times higher than cisgender people? Oregon's transgender population is around 23,000. 3,000 of them.
By the way, you'll never see her mention anything about who the last, several mass shooters were in America or any of their manifestos. You'll never hear that from these same people. It's always pushing one side that we're all the bigoted people, we're all the hateful people, and we don't listen. I've said it many times. As a Christian, I love everybody. I love I've worked with transgender people. They're some of the nicest people. Some of them that I've worked with are some of the nicest people. I think they're lost, but I don't believe in treating people blessed, because at the end of the day, we all live in sin. The only difference is we recognize our sin and we try to get better every day. And all these people don't. So why doesn't she bring up that? Why doesn't she bring up the Tennessee shooting of the kids in the church, whatever, where the kids were slaughtered by a shooter who had certain motives. Anyways,
those are minors. Oregon also has the highest percentage of LGBTQ plus adults per capita in the U.S., totaling 254,300 people. The murders of transgender people in America nearly doubled between 2017 and 2021, fueled in part by Donald Trump's bigoted remarks. Well, he's back. And his new administration continues to blame transgender people for all sorts of things, not based on fact, just on bigotry. Our kids hear what we adults are saying. They hear our words, and I know they hear our silence as well.
Yeah, because you were silent when your kid came to you and said, hey, this is the lifestyle I'm going to live. You failed them as a parent. you didn't teach them the right way. At least teach them, hey, maybe that's a decision you should wait until you're 18 or a little bit older to make. I mean, that's pretty reasonable, right?
51% of transgender Americans say they want to leave this country. My child was one of them. My only child moved abroad after Trump was reelected. They moved abroad because they no longer felt safe in Seaside. They did not feel it was safe to remain here. I've been told that some members of this council find this topic too political. When did standing up for civil rights of our residents become too political? We pledge allegiance to a flag in this chamber at the start of every council meeting. Hand to heart, we pledge that we believe in liberty and justice for all.
It's not liberty and justice for all, Miss Hoffman, when you have women being erased. It's not liberty and justice for all when you have young girls having to see penises in their locker rooms and in their gym classes. It's not liberty and justice for all when you're propping up one people group at the expense of others. What about Christians? What about conservatives? What about people who don't believe in that ideology? See, that this is the biggest lie that these people try to push. They try to say we're the bigoted ones because of our beliefs, and that we're the ones that not actually, you know what? Christians are the most accepting people at all. You know who's not the most accepting are people like you, Heidi. People like you, because you say everybody has to think your way. And if people don't think your way, they're bigoted. That is literally the biggest example of fascism in society than I can think of. We just don't want you shoving it down our kids' throats in schools. We don't want you telling our kids what to think. We want you to teach them how to think in schools. We just want you to leave our kids alone and let us do the parenting. But you think you know better. And you say you're the only one listening to the science. It's just, it's a bunch of lies, man. These people are I mean, man. And so again, I'm not calling for any kind of doxing or anything like that or whatever, but here she is. I mean, our tax dollars go to pay her salary. Okay. So she's public. This is what's called being a public official. But I would, if you want to, offer her prayers or email her and just say, hey, I disagree with you. Do it respectfully, but she needs to hear from other parents, I think. And then this OPB article says that Oregon officials, experts grappled behind the scenes with youth gender affirming care guidelines. So they're still pushing it here in Oregon. It's a highly polarized political debate over medical care for transgender youth. There should be, to me, this should be a decision that comes as adults. When they're adults, let them make their decisions. I'm actually a big believer in that. When you're an adult, you should be allowed to live the way you want to live as long as it's not hurting anybody. But it turns out that women, real women, and their feelings are not being taken into account when it comes to them not wanting people with penises in their locker rooms. I mean, we need to have a serious debate about this. And so, it says here, Oregon is home to, and she talks about, her child fled the country because she didn't feel safe. Well, guess what? Oregon is home to roughly 23,000 transgender people, including 3,000 minors. I think that's a tragedy, to be honest with you. 3,000 minors. According to a 2022 estimate by the Williams Institute at UCLA School of Law, a 2015 survey found that 12% of transgender Oregonians were unemployed and nearly a third lived in poverty, increasing their eligibility for Medicaid. And then, you have all over the Oregon.gov website. July 13th, 2023, Governor Kotek signed House Bill 2002. You guys remember that in Oregon, where it basically said, which prohibits health insurers from denying claims for medically necessary gender affirming treatment that is prescribed in accordance with accepted standards of care. The new law, and this law also, by the way, if a child wants to be trans and doesn't want to notify their parents, they don't have to. That's one of the guidelines under House Bill 2002. They're completely taking the parents out of the equation in the name of protecting safety, health, and safety. If you ever want to see a country being taken over by the government's always going to trample on your rights in the name of health and safety. Remember that. We just saw it in COVID. Okay. So all of these protections that has, and this is from the Department of Justice, Gender Affirming Care Resources. So Oregon they have not rolled any of this back. They've not rolled any of this back. And so this would actually be the safest place for Councilwoman Hoffman's child to live in. And the fact that they fled the country, it's just so sad, man. At the end of the day, I pray for all these people. I really do. I feel bad for them. They're lost. They're lost. And that's not a hateful thing to say. I believe they're lost. And guess what? They believe we're lost. Okay? So it's the same thing. But I don't condone bullying. I don't condone, whatever. That's not going to win people over. right? Especially if you're a Christian. So make sure we're doing it the right way, and make sure, the right way is Jesus's way, right? How Jesus would treat these people. But at the end of the day, man, it's just, our kids should not be being taught this stuff. It's not healthy for our kids to be confused about anything except maybe just how the world works, right? They shouldn't be confused about their gender. They shouldn't be confused about anything. And honestly, I believe, I don't like saying this because I have a lot of respect for people who are parents. Some people, in my opinion, shouldn't be parents. But I feel bad that this child was failed by Councilwoman Hoffman. I mean, they were failed. Because in my opinion, if it were my kid, I would deal with it differently. I would point them to the Bible and say, God made male and female. Male and female did he create, right? But, even if you aren't a Christian, I think the correct approach here would be like, hey, let's wait till you're an adult, honey. Let's wait till wait till later on. But see, these kids have so much propaganda pushed at them in these schools. This is why we have such a problem with the education. We just did a story about a radical teacher saying ICE is a terrorist organization. This is why we have such a problem with this, because these kids are so just indoctrinated and brainwashed with this information that there's no room for them to think the other way. And that's the problem. We used to be able to look at a problem from both sides and see, when you're pushing an agenda, you don't care about the other side. When you're pushing an agenda, you don't care about how the other side thinks. You don't care about what they say is truth. You just care about what you think is truth. And that, in my opinion, is the biggest form of fascism. That's the biggest form of what all these people accuse us of being. So anyways, like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow me. What do you guys think? Leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you have to say. We'll see you on the next one.